G'day punters, welcome to Victims of the Punt, where we are reviewing day 2 of the championships there at Randwick. There was plenty going on the track and off the track, and it's still going to be talked about, I'm sure, for the rest of the week. But it's a pleasure to be joined by Mark Shean, Mark Rhoden and Rob Scurry. Mark Shean, if I start with yourself, was there a highlight on the card as such?
Well, I think everyone's spoken about that, the daring ride of Nash. Zaki looked to have that race sewn up, and then Nash made a beeline to the outside fence. A lot of the fancied runners were struggling a long way from home in that race, so he took a daring move to try and catch the leader, and it paid off. He's been fined for excessive whip use. We had Brent Abdallah fined for waving Tommy Berry on there the week before, and I believe both of those are going to be used in plenty of promos for the next couple of weeks for what the carnival's produced. So it's quite interesting, isn't it?
Does that mean they get paid back afterwards for use of their image rights?
I'm not sure about that.
Just on the daring ride, Mark, did you find it interesting that none of the other jockeys in the last 2 races tried to take the same tactics? I mean, it really looked completely stark to what we'd seen previously, and quite often growing up listening and watching a lot of Randwick races, you know some of those better lanes are quite often against the hard outside fence, especially when wet, and just no one else seemed to take the plunge.
Yeah, I remember years ago when Randwick had a lot of trouble, and they were dead set heading to the outside fence, particularly over some Sydney Cup, Palace Revolt and Banderole. They were dead set on the outside rail years ago. But I think the track was such that you couldn't make a lot of ground, so perhaps they were just worried that they were losing too much ground to get there in the first place. Thinketover had sat outside the lead in a slowly run race, yep. So maybe it was a bit easy for him to do that. That's the only thing I could put it down to.
For sure. Mark Rhoden, welcome. How did you find the day overall? How did you see the track play in particular?
I got the track pattern slightly wrong. Look, the first thing to say, it was very, 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 very wet. Full credit, I suppose, to them getting through that meeting and getting through it safely. The meeting was never really in serious doubt of being called off, which, considering the rain and just how wet it was quite remarkable. Inside gates were fine. I think 4 winners drew 1 or 2, which I the week before, admittedly with the rail on the true, no winners drew inside 4. So I got that a little bit wrong. But I think it just came to you handled it or you didn't. Look, it played on pace, but I think that comes down to how wet the surface was as well, because some of these horses that get back in the field are going to be relying on a turn of foot or acceleration to get them into the race. And on a ground that ploughed up and heavy, you just couldn't use your turn of foot, and things really floundered and struggled to make ground. Saw a lot of grinding wins, tough, Nimalee ploughing through it, Bellinepatina taking an eternity to get there, but, really grinding through it in those last couple of races. Yes, it was on pace preferred, but I don't think that was down to the track itself.
Yep. And Rob Scurry, welcome to you. Another day in the carnival, another winning set. Little stab bet at El Patroness at odds, which is great. Overall, how did you see the day, and did you have a standout parader on the card at all?
Look, everything in the Queen Elizabeth looked great. Even Mount Popper. I'm cursing because I backed Zaki myself. Thought it was home, and then I realised I've left an unmatched place bet on Mount Popper, which I thought would cover me, but it didn't. It was unmatched, which I was a bit filthy about. But yeah, look, it was really hard to sort of suggest a bet after about the Oaks, and I think it was just like no bet, because every horse looked sensational. I bought into the narrative. Like, he's one of my favourite horses. So you think. Queen Elizabeth's winner, name escapes me. George Ryder winner.
Think it over.
Vision and Power. Vision and Power.
Oh.
That's what I call it. Yeah, because I backed that in the Australian Cup, and I bought into the narrative that it was too wet for it, and what my thing is bucking the trend and not listening to anybody. So I was really kicking myself. It was a very easy bet to have had. Nimalee as well. It was in the numbers, looked sensational. Another So You Think wet track winner. So yeah, look, glad to get a win on the championships again. But as always, I'm ruining a couple of things.
Oh, what could have been? Okay, we will review races 4 through 9, but we'll start with race 4, the Percy Sykes Stakes for the 2-year-old fillies. In terms of the tempo for the race, they've gone slow, 2 lengths slow for the class on punting form. Started to the 600, and look, For those of us who backed Willinga Beast, it was one of the more painful experiences. Hit the front, and then Paris Dior fought back and managed to run over the top of it. Rob, Paris Dior's been one of yours for quite a while. How do you see the parade here?
Yeah, on top.
Yeah.
But is it a wet track type? No, it doesn't look. It's like the best look type of 2-year-old filly to my eye. I think it's the best looker. Coming off a decent break, that was like a no. I'd rather a match fit horse. And Willunga Beast, I saw it plough through at Canterbury. Looked very, very well. I was drawn outside. Loved that too. I was counting the cash, at 250 out. And Mark's other bet in the race has given it a little bump, which has probably cost it, the win. So, it's 4 races down. I'm behind on the units, and I'm wondering how. But yeah, look, Paris Dior's probably worth following, but it's cost me a fortune. Who remembers Glenn at Warwick Farm that day? It was one of the biggest bets of the year, and got beat. So yeah, love it and hate it at the same time.
Mark Shean, how are you reviewing this race?
Well, it's one of the few races I won on, to tell you the truth. So I backed a month ago to win the race because the Snowdens normally set one for this. I had a bit of luck with a grey that they won with Pure Elation, I think, a few years ago. Anyway, and I was on Willinga Beast at $17 in the end. So I had a soft watch there early in the week, early at the straight. So, but as I said, it's about the only race I got right all day. So, look, I think she'll train on. She trialled brilliantly going into this, and she's a magnificent type. And as Rob said, she's not really a wet track type. So I think if she gets to Brisbane, which I assume they'll go there now, and she gets drier surfaces, she might be able to clean up there. Willinga Beast, just a light type who's probably suited to the wet, but by the same token, they have gapped the rest and run good time here. So I think they're 2 very promising fillies.
Yeah, Mark Rhoden, there was obviously no cash for the winner, but you could, to a certain extent, understand that. But it's recorded clearly a personal best for her, and a significant improvement on last preparation as well.
Yeah, she's always threatened. Well, she's threatened to do this. She's trialled. Well, she trialled really, really well before this, and she's trialled well in the past and raced well in the past before. She was a little disappointing in that sales race when favourite, I thought, but she's come on from. I mean, she's just improved leaps and bounds, and her trials in between suggested that might be the case. Along with yours on Willinga Beast at top odds, I had something on Magic Carpet as well. But I thought those 2 and Paris Dior were the only 3 chances in the race, and it got out to better than $4 on the fair late, and it should have at least cut out in retrospect. But that's life. What I will say is these are 2 very, very smart fillies, along with Fireburn. I think they might be the pick of the crop. I mean, they obviously couldn't get them up and running in time for the slipper, but going forward, Fireburn and these 2 are the top of the class in my view. And sick not to get the result, but just the hole they put them in the last furlong here. I know it's a wet ground, so maybe we've got to take it with a grain of salt, but I think they're right, going to be right in the mix in the 3-year-old year for sure.
See if they end up in Queensland over the coming months. Race 5 on the card was the Arrowfield 4-horse field, yet somehow managed to jump 4 minutes late. Very slow tempo, 14.8 lengths slow to the 600, and Mazu just kept doing what Mazu's been doing all prep and managed to win pretty comfortably in the end. Good overall splits and good overall figure. Rob, you had 4 to look at. How long did it take you to come to a conclusion here?
Not long at all. I Am Lethal, couldn't see it, can't see it getting near him. Paul Ailey didn't look as good as the week before, but still looked pretty good. In the Congo, looked very well, but in my head, I had him a little bit sus. I know he went all right at Rosehill, he ran second in the Galaxy, but I didn't like him on a heavy 10, whereas Mazu, he looked to hold his condition and his attitude, and he just paraded brilliantly. So I was very, very happy to jump on him, and it was a painless watch.
Yep, Mark Shean. Obviously, Mazu's been going great guns this prep, unbeaten the last 5 starts, run some really big figures overall. Do you think we've seen the best of him just yet?
Hard to say, because he has settled down a lot in the yard, so he is a different horse. So, he's going to have to go to the best level now, though. He's going to be probably aimed at a race like the Everest or something like that. So he's going to have to improve again to match those sort of horses. But again, Nature Strip's got to go to England and then come back. So maybe the ranks will be a little bit thinner by the time we get to that race. in 6 months' time. Look, this race did change complexion with all the scratchings. He looked like he was drawn a little bit awkwardly to start with, but only a field of 4 had lobbed into a great spot. And I got to agree, I think Paul Ailey or I'm Lethal paraded very well, so it just left it down to a toss of the coin, really. Mazu was, he was proven on the heavy as it turned out. That proved to be a decisive thing, I think.
And Mark Rhoden, do you do anything when you get 4 horses in the review?
No, I was going back in the Congo at the better price early, and it kept going off at me, so I've saved me money there. And actually, the race certainly did change complexion of the scratchings. It was, it looked like it was going to be more of a sit sprint, and that's how it panned out. And I think that played more into Mazu's hands than in the Congos as well. Yep. But yeah, I mean, he's gone well. I mean, he's got a great racing style and a great will to win, which will carry him a long way. He certainly has to go to another level to be winning an Everest. Well, on what the Everest rated in years gone by, but with Nature Strip being nearly 8 and Eduardo nearly 9, I think those ranks might be about to thin out.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Paul Ailey just finished behind them in the place getters there, didn't he? He ran 3rd, and he's been very safely held here. Whether he hasn't backed up from the week to week, which was a query that we had it with him, but that may be what we're left with at this stage.
That's right. We've been spoiled almost over the last few years with quite good depth in the sprinting ranks, but these things are cyclical, obviously, and the 2 big guns they're coming to the end of it, aren't they?
Race 6 on the card was the Oaks over 2,400 metres. They've gone very fast here for the class, 6 lengths fast to the 600, and El Patroness at the good prices really won pretty convincingly over Gypsy Goddess and Gin Martini. Rob, you did mention before that this is the start of when all horses started to parade well, so you obviously just found a few little edges out of the odds here. Yeah,
look, this one was, I could bet in this race because there is a bit of a tail to it, and it's a set weights, and I agreed with Mark Rhoden that Hinged was a risk at the trip, and even though it was very much the proven horse on the heavy track, I was sus on it running out the trip. El Patroness just looked like strong enough, wet. Relaxed, and I just liked it for those reasons. Gypsy Goddess, probably the best horse here. She's a big, strong girl. Whether she's totally suited, I'm not sure. I've also gone Honey Creeper. I thought that backed up well, but it's a bit silly taking $4.40 when you got $13 the previous week in a weaker race. So I was kicking myself there. But yeah, you got Gin Martini running 3rd at 100 to 1. It was probably not a bad run by Honey Creeper. She did get a long way back and got home, but the thing just was it was a nice watch in the end.
Yep. Mark Shean.
Yeah, pretty on pace dominated this one. El Patroness and Gypsy Goddess looked like they're going to fight it out a fair way from home. I thought Gypsy Goddess looked to be travelling a bit better coming to the bend, but El Patroness had that better sprint on the ground. Yeah, not much you can say. Hinged, as we alluded to, always looked like she might be a risk at this trip, and Honey Creeper just had to get too far back and coming out of a poor race. So I was surprised she was very hard in the market to start with, around the 5 to 2 mark. So I thought she was a pretty good lay at that price, to tell you the truth. But I did have a couple of bets in the race and did my money as well, so I only cut out on it.
Yep. Mark Rhoden, does anything stand out here? The very fast tempo obviously separates quite a few of these, but the heavy track probably clouds things if you're looking forward towards the spring.
Yeah, very much so. Plenty of just not handled it. Honey Creeper got too far back. Great effort, Rob, finding this winner. He's done me again. I was on Gypsy Goddess for plenty. And like Mark, I thought they were racing alongside each other, and I had the money spent at about the 600 or so. I thought this is going much the better. Dr. William Pike had put it in a great spot, and I thought he was going to get the money, but wasn't to be. Great stuff, Rob. Look, she's gone well, El Patroness. She's gone way better than I thought she would. So we can say that she's a real stayer, and she loves the wet. Whether that's going to translate onto dry tracks, I don't know. But look, if she strikes wet ground over 2,400 again, I won't be letting her under my guard. That's for sure.
Yep. We'll look at the Sydney Cup next, race 7, 3,200 metres. Very fast tempo here, 9.7 lengths fast to the 600, set by Knight's Order. Again, we see one of these staying races where genuine tempo really sorts them out. There's a horrendous tail here with 4th onwards being beaten by over 10 lengths, but full credit to Rachel King and, of course, the Waterhouse bot machine just putting the polish on a stayer as per the last however many decades. Rob, how did the stayers look here?
They all look, relaxed with good condition. I wasn't really interested to bet in the race at all. I think I didn't even fill out my yard notes because they all looked, they all look ready to go. Every horse looked pretty good. Night Sword always gets a bit sweaty where I don't like, which kind of put me off him a little bit. Shiraz is the wet track sort of type, I thought. But yeah, not much interest, Mark Shean.
Yeah, I think a lot of these were feeling the pinch a long way from home, and as we've said, I think once they get on better ground as they go to Queensland, I think a lot of these horses will certainly run better races. Great training performance from Gay and Adrian. Knight's Order. I just wasn't sure about that lead-up form. Maybe having the run the week before has actually played into his hands, but I didn't know that the Verve Not Verve form would be much good around it to win a Sydney Cup. But on pace and let bowl by Rachel and got the job done. Yeah, not much you can say about the race. But the third horse was a great run. Never got on the track and was still hitting the line strongly. What's the thing that won the Adelaide Cup? What's it called? Dacquin Sweet Junior?
Yep, that's the one.
That was about the only one that I didn't like from the yard, and so maybe it can improve.
Yep.
I thought its coat was a bit ratty, and anyway.
Mark Rhoden, what do you look at this race and see?
Great ride on the winner from Rachel. Just put them to the sword, really. The Chairman's was run at a pretty good clip last Saturday too, and I think that fitness has really been the difference in the end. I think I mentioned Knight's Order on Friday in the show and thought there was no real pressing need to take the price on the Friday. Thought, there's 100 chances in this. We'll just let it go. Of course, they stepped into it. My price edge disappeared. Let it go and just watched it. Well, never going to get beaten. So, yeah, that was good. But, not much to say about it. Yeah, grand annual steeplechase sort of margins, aren't they?
Yeah.
Some horses just gave up a very long way out.
Yeah. Let's talk about this most fascinating race, the Queen Elizabeth over 2,000 metres. Even tempo, 0.2 lengths slow to the 600. And it was really the first two and run that completely sorted it out between themselves. And there was some staggering margins against the SP back in the field. But Rob, let us know how they looked.
All of them looked sensational, really. It was lovely to watch the parade. I found it really hard. They really stepped into Animo, so I thought he'd paraded like he did when he won the Rosehill Guineas. So I sent him out on top. From Zaki, he looked sharp and in good condition. Mount Popper, best I've seen it, and I knew he was a heavy tracker, so I was kicking myself there. And this Dallas Sun continues to parade super. He's run another very good race. I just think a couple of them haven't handled it at all. Very Elegant seems to be a bit disappointing. Full credit to Shane Curlio, who said it was a lay all day. So it was I was filthy I didn't have something on to it. Listening to the narrative is not my go, and think it over. One on a heavy turn, great ride, but don't listen to other people.
Yep.
That's the lesson.
Mark Shean, how do you review this race, especially with the beaten horses?
Oh, well, I think it's a day that you can forget about, to tell you the truth. Look, this horse has been a duffer in the wet in the past, an absolute duffer. And I don't know whether he's found the fast lane or what the go is, but, generally on a heavy 10, this horse is struggling coming to the turn. He got lapped at Newcastle. I know that was over 2,400 metres, but his previous heavy runs, he just hasn't sprinted. And here he was, still with them at the top of the straight. Zaki beat him off. Maybe he's found the best ground, but I just can't fathom how horses like Animo and Jouet and Montefilia, even very Elegant, looked gone to me 700 out.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
And we saw that in a later race. Colette, who's an absolute mudlark, was gone at the 800.
Yeah.
So it's just a track where some of them handled it and some of them didn't. So it's a complete head scratcher to me. The form from the 9th of April for me is dead set. Put a pen through it.
Yeah. Mark Rhoden, it's going to throw up plenty of questions going towards the spring, but I guess there still has to be a question whether or not we see Very Elegant race in Australia again, let alone if we see a race overseas. But a few of these others probably have a few question marks next to them going forward as to what their spring features might be.
Yeah, it's meaningless. The race was a farce. It was an absolute farce. They've walked. Nothing's been able to make ground. Zaki's almost got away with it by default. I don't think he's gone particularly well. And think it over, who, Kerry Parker apparently, and good on Kerry Parker. It's great to see him win a race like this. He's a great trainer with a small stable. But he was apparently saying to his staff, look, we're not going to scratch him from the grand final just because it's wet. He's got a great will to win, and we'll back Nash to get the job done. And he's basically saying to his staff, this has got no chance, but we're running anyway, and it's won at 40-1. So, from a ratings perspective, it's atrocious, absolutely deplorable. I thought last year's edition that Adea won was bad. There was a bunched finish, and the time was poor. This is lengths inferior to that. It's just no form reference whatsoever. Just, completely ignore it. Animo is one of two horses from the Flying Godolphin stable that I've backed that has been very solidly supported by the market and run last. Emanating last was another one. So, they've gone from... and Mark mentioned Colette as well. It was backed off the map, beaten halfway up. So they've gone from the most informed stable in the land to can't get them get to the turn a week later. Unbelievable. But 3
last in a row, under 5-1. The last 3 races.
Amazing. Well, I only back 2 of them. Is the only comfort I can take from that. Not all 3, but just what do we? I mean, I was really, really looking forward to this race, and by the halfway mark, I said, "This race is a joke." And you could see Very Elegant was starting to struggle. Animo wasn't copying it. I was on Montefilia, the best back tracker in the race. She was gone before the turn. It was just a joke. Are these races too early with Sydney's weather these days? I mean, the Hawkesbury standalone and the Gosford standalone, they're going to be running good 4s in 3 and 4 weeks' time. I would take $1.50. They're both running good 4s, and we have to put up with a heavy 10 most of the time.
I'd be careful about Hawkesbury there, Mark.
Well, if they leave a tap running there, it's a heavy 10. So, we'll
I'm blaming the helicopter, Pete. You were right that mail with the helicopter. I boxed that up, but it got a lot of work, the helicopter. Maybe we should be blaming it for the near into the track. Because the track's raced pretty well considering the rain we've had until Saturday. This was just a different sort of track altogether, wasn't it?
Yeah. They were on a good 4 for this meeting last year, but it was a week later. Just these first 2 Saturdays in April, it just seems to be either still raining or still damaged from the rain they copped earlier in the autumn. I'd just love to see this carnival run of good tracks.
Mate, that's never going to happen, I don't think. We're not going to delay it into May. It would interfere with everything else. Although, mind you, the whole carnival's spreading out slowly across the year, so it'll just be Group 1s every week soon. Okay, let's have a look at the Queen of the Turf. Fast tempo race, 3.7 lengths fast to the 600 on punting form starter, and Nimalee was travelling a fair way out, and Anavisto also went well as the leader, but Ollie just put the horse in the spot and it just completely ran over him. Rob, what do you think of the fillies here, in the fillies and mares?
Again, very hard to find a horse that didn't parade well, and Nimalee was dappled up and relaxed and ready to go, and I'm filthy that I didn't send something out because Colette, Ice Bath, they just struck me as just being a little bit short in the market, and Anavisto looked very well. Promise of success seems to have run well for a sort of a get back horse, but just a bit filthy on myself that I didn't send something out on the winner here.
Mark Shean, how do you review the Queen of the Turf?
Yeah, look, another race where the winner was poised just on the back of the speed. So in that leading division, Icebath got a long way back. McAvoy did go to the inside to save ground. This was a race after that everything had gone to the outside. So during the run, I'm going, what's going on here? I thought he'd be circling the field to the outside fence, but by the same token, I don't think it made any difference. He saved a lot of ground with that ride, and I just think it was very hard to make ground throughout the day, in my opinion, and Nimalee just lobbed into a good spot. Her and Anavisto came away up the rise and was pretty hard to make ground on. From that point, I thought Icebath did a great job to get as close as she did, and as I said, Colette was gone at the 800 and Fangirl was back in with the cap catches as well, so, set an impossible task under the circumstances.
Yep. Mark Rhoden?
They lobbed in the right spot first and second. Nimalee's gone really well, but perfectly suited, I'd suggest there. I was on Ice Bath too, was calling Kay McAvoy all sorts of names when he went to the fence, but had he come around, he wouldn't have finished any closer. There's no doubt at all about that. Not much to take out of the race. Nimalee's a good horse. I feel very, very sorry for Rob. He's backed the Oaks winner at 25s and it's won by about 6, and then he's now done nothing but complain about the races following. He wasn't on the next one at 40s and this one at 15. So, yeah, poor old Rob.
Could have been a day for the ages, Rob. It could have been an absolute all-time.
Well, I've walked in and I've looked at the 2-year-olds and I said, there's only 2 chances here. Yeah. And Williamsburg, and I haven't seen it, and I'm filthy. Rustic Steel's loomed up to win. We've had Wollonga Beast, and to be down by race 4, I was anyway. Yeah, it was good. It was good to get the Oaks winner. It was a special moment.
It was a smart comeback. That's what it was. You're in form. That's all that matters. All right, that brings us to the end. I'll get a couple of horses to follow from each of you. Mark Shean, I'll start with yourself.
No, there's nothing to follow out of this race, honestly. If Paris Door goes to Brisbane, I think she'll win a good race up there if they press on with her. They might put her away now and wait for the spring. I'm not sure, but as I said, I think this meeting is best forgotten.
Yep. Mark Rhoden, anything for you?
No, just those fillies, Paris Door and Wellington Beast. I think they're very smart.
Yeah. And Rob, anything that you could lead us out of the yard for maybe next start?
Look, I had a big bet on Lock Eagle, and I thought it was just got pushed to the fence, which I didn't like. It got done by the only Godolphin winner of the day. I think that horse has got something, and maybe Zethus on a slightly drier surface. So maybe those two could be worth following. But do your own research. Very much so. Yep. It's heavy 10 or heavy 15.
Yep. The week ahead, we've got Kembley Grange tomorrow, Tuesday that is, Wednesday Hawkesbury, Thursday at Wyong. Nothing on Friday except for Canberra, but then on Saturday, Kembley Grange once more, and the All-Age and the Champagne Stakes to round out the Group 1s. Mark Shean, is there anything that takes your eye in either of the features at this stage?
No, we'll see if Fireburn can be the first filly to do that Triple Crown. I don't know if it's ever been done before by a filly. So she'll be joining some elite ranks there if she can do that. No, I haven't seen the noms yet, mate, so I don't know to be guessing. Just hope the track plays a little bit better.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. All right, guys, thanks very much for joining me. We'll catch up on Friday to preview the meeting, but until then, have a good week.